At the beginning of the story, we see a dangerous prison in America, where many prisoners were working. In this prison, we meet a young man named Paul, who works as a prison guard. Paul was in the washroom, having difficulty urinating because he had an infection. Just then, his fellow guard came and told Paul that a new prisoner had arrived. Outside, another guard named Percy was escorting a tall, broad prisoner. Percy kept saying, dead man walking, meaning that this prisoner was going to die soon because he had been sentenced to death. Percy was a very dirty man and treated the prisoners very badly. Then, the prisoner was taken inside where Paul was present. Paul took him into his cell and asked his name. The prisoner revealed his name to be John Coffey. He was quite large, but he had the mind of a child. He asked Paul, "Do the lights not go off here at night? I'm afraid of the dark." Paul told him it was always bright here. Don't worry. Before leaving the cell, John extended his hand to Paul, which alarmed all the guards. But Paul shook his hand back. As Paul left, John tearfully told him, "I tried so hard to stop him, but I couldn't." Paul didn't understand this. Then Paul looked at this prisoner's file, which revealed the reason for John Coffey's presence. 2 girls suddenly disappeared from a house. When the entire village went searching for them in the forest, they found the girls' bodies lying in John Coffey's lap, and John repeatedly cried, "I tried so hard to stop them, but I couldn't." Everyone assumed John had killed them, and for this, John was sentenced to death. After reading this file, Paul, along with a colleague, began cleaning the electric chair. This chair was used to seat prisoners sentenced to death, and they were given the shock until they died. In fact, this prison housed dangerous prisoners sentenced to death. They heard laughter from outside, and upon reaching out, they saw a fellow guard laughing. He told them to look ahead. There was a rat, to whom the guard gave a piece of biscuit. As soon as it ate the biscuit, it went inside the dungeon. This made the 3 suspect that the rat might have dug a hole in the prison. Perhaps a prisoner could escape by enlarging the hole. They took out all the items in the dungeon to catch the rat, but they couldn't find it. The 3 were perplexed that the 3 guards couldn't find a rat. The next day, the rat returned. 2 guards saw it and offered it a biscuit. Percy was also present, and he thought they should kill it. But the rat, saving its life, went back inside the dungeon. Angrily, Percy began taking out everything. Just then, Paul and his companions arrived. His companion tried to tell Percy that they had done the same thing yesterday, but Paul told his companion to keep quiet. It would be a good thing. He would be upset. Percy took out all the stuff inside, but he couldn't find the rat anywhere. His efforts were in vain. Furthermore, he would have to put it all back in. Enraged, he started abusing a guard. Then Paul's guard grabbed him by the throat. Percy threatened him, saying, "If you do anything to me, I'll take your job." In fact, Percy had a small acquaintance with the local governor, which he exploited. At that time, there was a worldwide crisis, making jobs very difficult to find. Because of this, no one wanted to risk their jobs. But Paul wasn't intimidated by his threats. He told Percy that he knew Percy's influence. But from now on, if he threatened any guard, they wouldn't sit quietly, even if it meant losing their jobs. The next day, while Paul was working, he heard someone laughing. He went outside and saw that the sound was coming from the room of a prisoner named Dale. Dale was now in possession of the same rat that had been causing him so much trouble. Dale was overjoyed to have the rat and declared it his pet. It obeyed everything he said. He threw a roll, and the rat brought it back. Dale named the rat Mr. Jingles. From a nearby cell, John Coffey said, "Your rat is very intelligent. He really was a child in a 7-foot frame." Well, soon, Paul was summoned by the prison warden, Hale. He and Paul had a close friendship. The warden informed Paul that a new prisoner was arriving at the prison, a very dangerous one. He had killed 3 people during a robbery, one of whom was a pregnant woman. The warden was also very worried because his wife was dying soon from a brain tumor. The tumor was located in an inoperable location. The warden became very emotional at this. He couldn't figure out how to tell his wife that she was dying. The next day, Paul was waiting at the door for prisoner Williams. But due to his urinary infection, he was having trouble even standing. Just then, John Coffey called out to him. John told him to be careful. When the dangerous prisoner William was brought in, he suddenly attacked the guards. Paul rushed to the scene, but William attacked him between the legs. Poor Paul suffered a broken testicle. On top of that, he had an infection there. Paul collapsed in pain. He managed to get up and pointed his revolver at William. William held the guard in front of him, and Percy was standing nearby. Paul told Percy, "What are you looking at? Attack him." But Percy was terrified. Percy was not only a mean man but also a coward. Just then, another guard arrived, snatched the baton from Percy's hand, and attacked William. William was then captured. Everyone went about their business, but Paul, in excruciating pain, lay on his stomach, groaning. Then John Coffey's voice rang out again, "Listen to me. I have something to do." John, still in pain, went to him. As soon as he came closer, he grabbed him, pulled him towards the bars, and touched the spot where Paul had the infection. Suddenly, the light in the cell's bulb began to increase, so much so that it burst. With that, Paul's pain vanished completely. John Coffey sat inside his cell and coughed, and the next moment something like ash began to come out of his mouth, dissolving into the air and disappearing. Paul asked him, "What have you done?" John replied, "I've helped you, and what else? But now I'm very tired. I want to sleep." Paul went to the bathroom, but he felt no pain at all. This meant he was completely healed. John's image had completely changed in Paul's eyes. Paul went to the lawyer who handled John's case. He wanted to know John Coffey's entire history, including whether he had ever committed murder. The lawyer told him that John Coffey had never been seen before that day. He was seen for the first time in that forest, and that too with the bodies of 2 girls. Everyone assumed he was wandering around looking for a job. Meanwhile, another prisoner, William, was causing everyone a lot of trouble. Sometimes he would spit in Paul's face, sometimes he would urinate on someone, and once, when he saw an opportunity, he grabbed a purse. His teasing frightened Paul so much that he wet his pants. William was imprisoned for his actions. Now Dale's death sentence arrived, but he was very worried about who would take care of his mouse, Mr. Jingles, after he left. A guard assured him, "We'll send your mouse to the circus. It will do well there and be safe." Just then, the mouse escaped the cell, and Paul crushed it with his foot, walking away as if nothing had happened. Dale wept loudly over his mouse's death. John Coffey, who was also watching, urged him to bring it to him quickly. Paul picked the mouse up and placed it in his hands. John took it in his hands and blew on it, and a bright light burned between his hands. Then a similar ash came out of its mouth. Everyone was astonished, and the next moment, the mouse came back to life and went to Dale. But now, Dale's time for death had come. He was seated on a chair. This time, Percy was in charge of executions. In fact, Percy had promised that if he was put in charge of someone's execution, he would seek a transfer. He had already applied for one, and thanks to his connections, he would be approved. A wet sponge was placed on the head of a person to be executed, so that the electric current would travel quickly to their brain, thus hastening death. However, Percy deliberately placed a dry sponge on Dale's head, resulting in a painful death. After Dale's tragic death, Paul was furious and threatened Percy, saying, "If you don't leave here as soon as possible, I'll file a complaint against you, saying that when William attacked us, your hands shook. Despite being free, you couldn't attack. You're not fit to be a present guard. And that day when he caught you, your pants got wet." Percy panicked and promised, "I'll get out of here as soon as possible." Paul arrived outside John's cell and saw him crying profusely. He explained, "I could feel Dale's pain, and Mr. Sifka, Jingles, could feel it too. He felt pain, so the rat ran away." John also said he was very tired and wanted to sleep. We then see Paul having lunch at his home, where the other guards who worked with him at the prison had also come. The conversation turned to John Coffey, who had revived the rat, and Paul also mentioned that it had cured his bladder infection. Together, they were going to help Warden Hale, whose wife had a brain tumor. Their plan was to take John Coffey to the warden's house at night. Before the planned execution, they had William, the prisoner in the adjacent cell, drugged his beer with a sleeping pill and then thrown him into the dungeon holding his purse. As they were taking John away, we saw that William was still conscious. He suddenly grabbed John's arm, and John began shaking violently, as if in immense pain. Similarly, William freed John, after which he fell unconscious again. When John emerged from prison, he was overjoyed to see the stars in the open sky. He touched the grass and soil. It felt as if he could speak to the earth. John might have been as old as he wanted physically, but mentally, he was still a 4-year-old. They were taking John away in a truck. Just then, a guard asked him, "Do you know where we're taking you?" John replied, "To help a woman." But he didn't know how he knew. As they arrived outside the warden's house, The warden became frightened. He thought someone had escaped from prison and was there to take revenge on him. He then raised his gun and became alert. But Paul explained to him, "We're here to help you." John was then taken inside to the warden's wife. The warden's wife was very ill and had lost her composure. John went to her. The warden's wife asked him what his name was. He said, "John Coffey." "Coffey," he said, "is a slightly different spelling." He would casually say his name like a child. Then he moved his mouth close to the warden's wife's and sucked her entire illness into his body. But unlike every other time, the ashes didn't come out of his mouth, and John's condition worsened. The warden's wife had now completely recovered, but she hadn't remembered anything since the diagnosis. He asked John for his name again. Before he could say his name, the warden's wife said his name, meaning she remembered John's words to some extent. Now she came to John and said, "I had a dream where it was very dark, but you came to me as a light and saved me." She took off her necklace, put it on John, and embraced him. John was then taken away from the house, but John's condition was very bad. Meanwhile, Percy was released from the dungeon with the promise of a transfer as soon as possible. After leaving, Percy passed by John's cell. Then John pulled Percy away and transferred all the warden's wife's illness into him, causing Percy's condition to deteriorate. He staggered slightly to William's cell and suddenly fired a barrage of bullets at William. He himself fell down and began writhing in pain. Similar ash began to flow from Percy's mouth. Seeing all this, Paul realized John had done something wrong. Now Percy had contracted the warden's wife's illness. Paul asked John why he had done this. John explained that both of them were very bad men. When William had held John's hand, John had seen inside him. He told Paul, "Hold my hand. I'll show you what kind of man he was." As soon as Paul held John's hand, he saw everything John had seen. William had actually killed the two girls John was accused of murdering. So John used Percy to kill William. The next day, the warden asked Paul if this whole incident had anything to do with what happened at his house, but Paul flatly denied it. Meanwhile, Percy was admitted to the same mental hospital where Percy was about to be transferred. Now Paul knew John was innocent. He went to John and asked him what he wanted. He told John, "I can send you far away. No one will find you there." But John didn't want that. He said he was tired of this freedom. He was tired of seeing the hatred in people's hearts. He couldn't bear it. Every day he felt the pain of humans, and now he wanted to be punished as soon as possible. Paul said, "How will I face God? I know you're innocent. How can I let you die?" But John said, "By punishing me, you're only helping me." He no longer wanted to live in this world. Paul asked him, "Whatever you want, tell me." John ordered a lot of food and expressed his desire to watch a movie. They all showed him the movie together. Now the day of John's punishment arrived. When Paul and the other guards went to John, John told them that he had a dream in which Mr. Alstas's touch, Jingles, had arrived at the circus. There were many children there, including the two girls Williams had killed. John was then placed in the electric chair. The relatives and parents of the two girls were also present. The father of the girls spoke harshly to John. John could feel their hatred. Paul asked John if he wanted to say any last words. John was deeply saddened by the fact that he had not been able to save the girls. As his face was being covered with a cloth, John told Paul, "I am afraid of the dark. Please don't cover my face." Paul agreed. Tears welled up in the eyes of all the guards, watching an innocent man die. Paul shook John's hand one last time, and John silently told him that, just as those two girls had been killed, there was a lot of wrongdoing going on in the world. Humans hate human beings. He couldn't live here anymore. Paul struggled to give the order to activate the electric chair, but he finally had to, and poor John Coffey died. We then see an older Paul recounting the story to his friend. Paul explained that it was the last death sentence he and his comrades had faced. After that, all the guards transferred to a facility that housed juvenile offenders. They tried their best to educate and reform them, but Ellie didn't believe Paul's story. To reassure her, Paul took her for a walk to the same wooden cottage he visited every morning. When they went inside, they saw that Mr. Jingles, the mouse that had been with the prison inmate, was still alive. Paul explained that when the mouse was in pain, John had helped it, and while healing it, he probably transferred a little of his power to it, which is why the mouse is still alive today. And when John telepathically showed him how William had killed the girls, John reluctantly gave Paul a small portion of his power. Paul explained, "I'm 108 years old. I've lived a very long life. I've seen many good and bad things. I've buried my entire family, and one day Ellie will also be gone from my life. Perhaps this is my punishment. This is my atonement. After this, Ellie also died sometime later. Now Paul lay in bed, remembering all the people who had come and gone in his life. He was thinking that if John had given such a long life to a mouse like Mr. Jingles, he was still a human being. He didn't know how long he would live. If you enjoy what we do here, please like the video and subscribe to this channel to keep us motivated. See you on the next video.